as fuck.
Blizzzy Blake.
Hello.
In the building.
I still crack up when people call me my Instagram name.
It's a good one. Were you playing off of Drizzy Drake?
Kind of. How did I even get that name? A random friend at a party just was like, Blizzzy. I was like, oh, I kind of like that. Just run with it.
Yeah.
And it just kind of stuck. And then for a long time, a lot of my friends just called me it. And then they added 3 Z's because I'm always the first one to fall asleep. So that's why there's 3 Z's in there.
Blizzzy Blake.
But
I like it.
I am Drake era, so Drake is one of my favorite artists. So
Same.
I love that for you guys.
you don't like Drake?
I like Drake, but I'm not like die-hard Drake.
What do you listen to?
I feel like I listen to all sorts of stuff, but I don't know who like my favorite. What would Drake be, like a rapper? Who my favorite
Just
rapper?
I feel like you
artists.
listen, like Mac Miller is your like.
Yeah, when I like he's like my favorite.
That's a good one.
She listens to Harry Potter audio.
Yeah, oh yeah, when I'm like getting ready and stuff, I'm more of like an audiobook kind of gal.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
I like
me and my Harry Potter go way back.
Hey, Harry Potter hits. I do like Fantastic Beasts better though.
This is hitting a
We'll
nerve.
save this for another day.
Just
No,
saying, like
kidding.
the storyline's a little more like I think because I'm older too. So
Probably,
it's like
yeah.
the adult Harry Potter. but
Yeah, it does have a good. It's funny how they did that. They did it really clever.
Yeah, it gives you like the whole back end to like Hogwarts and all that stuff. So
What
It's
is
cool.
Fantastic Beasts?
do you have
It's like the
that?
prequel to Harry Potter.
I'm not a. I just took my house quiz today because
I've been trying to tell her to take it, and so she's finally taken it to figure out what house she's in.
Oh,
You
what
know,
house?
like the different,
So what house
like-
are you in?
if you had to guess,
You look like a Slytherin.
Snap!
aren't they like the mean ones?
They're not mean. They're just cunning.
What?
Cunning.
Why do you?
Because I feel like you're like you have this sweet persona, but it's like don't fuck around and find out. Like don't piss me off. There's like the.
I mean,
wrong? It's the ones that
I'm
always
like-
giggle the most is the ones you got to worry about.
oh, I'm like protective of people that I care about, but I feel like I'm not like I don't know. Am I?
I said Ravenclaw because I know you're like out of this world smart.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you. Well, neither of those are right. I'm a Hufflepuff apparently.
Okay,
Which I described to her as the hippies.
I could see that a little hippie-esque.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Anyway, this is none of what we wanted to talk about today.
I love this intro though.
Yeah, this is way more organic. Usually we're so awkward. But I heard Blizzzy Blake at
Blake. Okay.
I heard Blake at Creative Mornings, which is the only one that I've been to, and I don't actually really know what it is. It's like they bring speakers and have breakfast and talk about creative things.
It's a creative breakfast series it's basically just like a mixer for all creatives in San Diego. And then it's global, so it's all over the United States and world too. So
That's what it is. And I was just like really, I don't know, I really resonated with like what you talked about. And also you had talked about like how you wanted to cultivate this space and you set it up with like the circular chair set up and you had the music and like that just really was like resonated with me. Like I feel like I don't do well in like a lecture. Like if someone's talking at me, I'm like probably not going to listen.
Yeah.
So I felt like you really understood creatives in that way. Like I feel like most creatives do resonate with that. And so I thought it'd be cool for you to come on here and talk about your like creative journey. I feel like I consider myself a creative person, but when I'm around other people who I think are more creative than me, I get like very insecure and I'm like, I'm actually not that creative. Like they are the like people who have a really cool style or like play 10 instruments or like do all that stuff. So I guess like your journey and also like how you consider yourself a creative.
oh man. It's a loaded question. Well, first of all, everybody's a creative in their own way. I I wouldn't tie creativity to attributes or physical things, because some people could just be very mute and be the most creative people you know. So you got to believe it first before anybody does. So I would challenge you to step into your power, because you're doing creativity, you're doing something creative right now. You know, who's put it on the podcast? So I just want to leave you with that.
First of all, love that. Thank you. Needed that.
Thank you.
So to be honest, it all started. I'm a pastor's kid, so grew up in the church. We just had to like cultivate space, and I started in that space. And then as I got older, I did this thing called ASB in high school, Associate Student Body. So,
leadership.
Kind of, but I put on all the lunchtime activities, the pep rallies, battle of the bands, like anything that was like fun event related in school, I was a part of. I was on the special events team or whatever you call it. So yeah, I've been cultivating space since high school, and got out of high school, worked full time, worked in nonprofits for a while, worked with kids. Still love it. It's a big passion of mine. But in the midst of that, trying to figure out like my creative journey. Didn't know what to do. I just know I wanted to do something non-traditional. My dad would always tell me like, you need to work for yourself because you don't like being told what to do. And I don't. I'm working on it though. Because you do need to listen sometimes.
It's hard.
It is. Especially when you're in the creative space where you're trying to do something where most people don't get. So it's like you almost feel like you're on an island. So fast forward, did that, turned 21, moved to Orange County for 2 years, and started a club promotion team and ran club events and was busing people up from San Diego to Orange County and like doing these club appearances, working with different artists. And so and then graduated to being a VIP host at the club. And we'll save those stories for another time. But yeah, so just learned just all of that and just worked full time while I was doing it. Fast forward, had amazing 3 years, 21 to 23 in OC, ran clubs, we had the biggest promotion team, and then we all fell apart because it just got money hungry and stuff like that. Lost my job, completely like fell on my ass. I had to move back home to my parents' couch. So hit like a little bit of a dark spiral. Didn't really like know what I wanted to do. But I know I wanted to do events again. And we were doing this really cool event called Wine Down Wednesday in Orange County. And it's like basically just wine and music. But I was like, how can I like recreate that in San Diego, not on a Wednesday? Because as we know, San Diegans don't like doing things between Monday and Thursday. They're true Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday fun day crowd. So it's like, what can I do? And just taking all the experience I learned, I realized Sundays are the cheapest days to book events. So I was like, well, let's do Soul Sunday. And fast forward, 10 years later, I'm here.
So you started that when you were 25, 26?
I started working in the creative, like in the club space at 21.
The Soul Sunday. How old were you?
25.
25?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going on our 9-year anniversary in November. Yeah.
Dang, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Is it like the same, like what has evolved since starting it, would you say the most?
So much. Lost a lot of friendships. Long friendships, long-term friendships.
From starting it?
Just growth. Because it got to a point. Big thing with Soul Sunday, it's a safe space for women. So working in the club space, I just saw a lot of like, just really, you just see a lot of shit. And especially for women, it's like, it's not safe for y'all to go out, even if you go with a group of girls. And I was like, we got to change this, got to kill this kind of club culture. And that was a big thing for Soul Sunday. It was just supposed to be a space for women, LGBTQ, black, brown. It's just for you just to be and not feel subjective. Or if you want to dress up sexy and feel good, like you don't get subjectified for wearing a short skirt. Or, you know what I mean? Like nobody should feel that way or be pushed on something. So that has changed, which has like grew, and then pandemic was a blessing for me. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but like pandemic forced me to slow things down and figure out like how to elevate Soul Sunday, because we're at this coffee shop no bigger than this apartment, and we're like packing out 100 people, 120 people in there, and I know I needed to leave, but I just didn't know where. Pandemic happened, gave me a year to like really like think about things, and also to like a lot of shit was happening, the George Floyd thing. It was just a lot of like realignment for me personally, and I realized I was operating in a very passive aggressive, how do you say it, like I was like the checkbox for the La Mesa community, and I realized I was like being
Tokenism.
exactly. So all that just shifted, and I realized I was like, hey, I got to do things better, got to change everything up, and I found Courtyard. We're able to like kind of push it, and then I realized in the pandemic, music and community and space was really needed. So when we started back up, it just kind of took us. We ended on a high note, which was nice, but then we came back, and it just hasn't stopped. Like we went from averaging 300 people, now we're up to 600 people per show and stuff like that. So I would say the biggest changes is just like it's becoming a little more corporate. Like I just met with my lawyer team today, and like working on contracts. Lost a lot of friends in the process, because you know priorities have to shift, and I noticed that sometimes when people progress and other people don't progress, there's this level of envy, and it's like it gets toxic. So I had to like just kind of nip a lot of that out. So I think that was like the biggest change. And then we don't really talk about the mental side. Like it's hard. Like as much as this year has been great, it's been mentally taxing. The biggest change, there's a lot of changes. The first couple of changes I would say are, you know, things are growing. I have a really dope team around me. Like I have a full team of like a full production team, a full social media team. I have an operations team. So it's cool to see like this village really work, and then everybody's like branching off and creating their own things as well. So that's like the really dope part of it. The hard part is entrepreneurial life is not sexy. 10% of it's fun. I even say like 97% of it is hard, just like work. I do more admin work. People are like, you're always working, you're always doing stuff. I'm like, yeah, if I'm not sitting in front of my computer chipping away at stuff every day, like, you know, I don't work a normal 9 to 5. So if I don't work 2 weeks, you know, I could work 2 weeks from 9 to 5 and I'm gonna get a check. I know what I'm gonna get, but this is like really contingent on how much work I put in. You know, like I was just mad I took a 3-hour nap today, but clearly I needed it.
Yeah.
But that part was hard. It's mentally taxing. Losing friendships, seeing things shift, constantly in your head because you're trying to cultivate stuff. People don't understand what you're doing. For the longest, everybody's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this whole Sunday thing? You're not making any money. Even from like, my brother's like, I don't know what you're doing, bro. I don't get it. And like 8 years later, everybody finally fucking gets it, which is fine, but you almost feel like you're on an island. And it's hard. Even after the creative morning speech, I went to Chicago for work, and I came back that Monday and broke down. I just had a complete mental breakdown. And it was just so much weight. You know, I have people that are depending on me to be paid, and they're budgeting the pay that I promised them. And, you know, everybody loves this event now. So it's like having this big spotlight, and, you know, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
That was, Ellie and I were thinking of like questions we wanted to ask you. And that was one of them, of like that uncertainty with income, because you are your own boss, and like how do you balance that, and also how do you like choose what to say yes to, because I'm like, we're like stoked that you wanted to come hang out and talk, but like this is taking up your time, this is like your evening that's now spent here. So like, how do you decide
What are your boundaries?
What are your boundaries?
I'm learning those. Seriously.
Same.
Yeah, I'm learning those because I've had to even set them like with the family, with friends. It's hard. You like. The nice thing is Soul Sunday is that's like my 9 to 5. So as long as that's moving, there's something coming in, right? But that's a very large operating cost. There's all this other stuff, and I have, just typical life stuff: health insurance, car insurance, rent. I'm very fortunate. My parents are from here, so I have a house, so it's like I'm in a solid situation, but that quickly can change. So you have to be tactful because all money's not good money. I've walked away. I actually added it up this year. I've walked away from a total of $70,000 that has been offered to me just through different projects. Because it's just not, you can't take everything.
Yeah.
And early on I did. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. But now it's like at a point is you have to set those boundaries with yourself and like, is this money really worth it? Like, how much money am I getting compared to what headache and strife I'm gonna have to go through to make this money, right? So, it's hard, and but the thing I learned with most entrepreneurs, you have to have multiple streams of income. You can't just depend on one stream of income, like, because something's gonna fall, something's gonna slow down, something might not pick up. So just making sure that there's other things coming in, because a lot of people think I just do Soul Sunday, but Soul Sunday is owned by my creative agency called Simple Collective. And Simple Collective is the agency that runs Soul Sunday, cultivates our other event, helps cultivate our other event. It's not a mixed company, but that's like a whole separate thing. That's even more of like me as like a personal entity, is like being part of that. And then I have the Simple Productions, which is the in-house production team that shoots all of my social media. So we try to get contracts and jobs through other people, if it's content production or, we've done a few weddings, we've done events. So it's like making sure that there's income coming from all streams, and then I'm blessed now to the point that some people are now calling me like, hey, we want to hire you guys to do this. I'm like, okay, well, this is our base. This is what you have to pay us. And so it took some time, but initially, like, I was working a full-time job. I'm just 2.5 years removed from like working full-time for myself.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was literally working 16 to 18-hour days.
I didn't even think. I was just like, why did I not even think of that?
Yeah.
That's
So
wild.
all the way up until my job let me go, they severanced me. It was crazy because like last year I was working in corporate. I was working sales. I always knew, like, when I would go into my day jobs, like, this is a means to ends. Like, this is just me to pay my bills, keep my base, and get solid health insurance. So when I would miss sales or people would take my sales, I would just be like, all right, whatever. But everybody else is like in the corner smoking cigarettes and like distressed. And they're like, why are you? I'm like, because this is not like, I just always would tell myself, this is not my end all be all. This is a means to an end. So yeah, I was working full time that for the first half. Like, if whoever's watching this, like, if you're really trying to be an entrepreneur, make sure you build your base, work. You're going to have to sacrifice. And I think that's the thing is, like, I don't see my friends all the time. Like, my best friend, I love him. My boy Eric, like, he's so understanding because he just knows that even though I might say no, he always invites me to play golf. Like, hey, we're going here. He always does. But finally, like, things are going, I'm able to play golf with him this coming weekend. But it's sacrifice. Like, even when I was in my long-term relationship, like, she got the tail end of everything. And she supported it, and shout out to her. No bad blood with her. But yeah, you gotta sacrifice. Like, and it's either you give up this to get that. So it's a give and take. So it just really depends. But yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. I kind of want to go back and, like, I think for me, again, like, I appreciate you saying we're all creative, but I did in the back kind of think that I'm not the most creative person, and just hearing your like passion for it starting at such a young age. How do you think like your creative process has like changed or maybe stayed the same since like starting this journey? Or do you feel like how do you stay creative and passionate about something that does require like sacrifice and all of these other things that are maybe a little bit more difficult, right? Like what? Yeah.
It's a multitude of things. Like I go back and I think about, as a kid, I always wanted to be a DJ, right? Like now I'm starting just to slowly spin records. So I started buying records and spinning records at my friends' spots. And it's like, you got to tap into kind of what I said at Creative Mornings, like tap into your inner child and the things that like drive you, and then you got to really be honest to yourself. Like, what do you want to do in life? Like, why are you here? What do you want to do? Excuse me. And I think we were always taught that, like, go to school, get married, buy a house, have babies, live in the house for 30 something years, die in the house, your kids sell the house, start all over again. And I was blessed. My parents never really pushed that on me, and they just live your truth, like do what you want to do, and just don't cause harm to anybody, and make sure you just take care of yourself. So I just had to break away from that mindset, and just make sure you just continue to feed the things that you're passionate about. But you always have to have those like mental check-ins of like where you're at, where you want to do. It's really what it is. And it's like, we're all creatives. Like even a surgeon, he's a creative. He's literally saving somebody's life. That's an art form. It might not be the art form of a piece of art, but like he's making these small incisions and stuff like that. Even down to like people like degrade strippers. I'm like, you know how much strength it takes you to go all the way up that fucking bow and spin down and fly, but it's an art. Like we have all the things we do is an art form in its own way. It's just that society likes to pigeonhole what that looks like, and it's. I think the dope thing now is like, especially this generation coming up, but under us is like, they're like, fuck all that, like fuck the traditional stuff, fuck all this, like. And I'm excited, really, really excited for it. So.
Yeah, Erica's always said that. She's like, the younger generation brings me so much hope.
It does. Like, I paint my nails every now and then. I have my pinkies painted right now. And my parents are giving me shit about my nails. And my nephews, my 10-year-old nephew, my 15-year-old nephew was like, yo, Uncle Blake's is trying to express himself. Like, chill. And I sat there, I was like, same thing. I was like, oh, damn, like, it's so dope. I was like, we might be able to survive. Yeah. Like, so, because it was just like pressing about the nail thing. I was like, if I was a punk rocker, you wouldn't question it.
Yeah, it's literally something you made up in your own mind.
Yeah. It's just it's an art form. And even some of my friends, my heterosexual friends, I'm an ally to the LGBTQ. Some of my close friends are from that community, and they have such a hard time. Like, oh, you're out in Hillcrest. I'm like, and? Like, what does that mean? Like, are you scared? I'm like, you are what you fear. So it's like, are you fearful of something that you don't know? Like, it's just like everything. I'm trying, like, my goal is to kill all the taboos, you know? Because all this stuff that we grew up and were taught and stuff like that, it's shit.
It doesn't work.
No, not at all.
Which I think, like, to that end, it's like kids, like, when you're so young, you don't think that way. It's really, like, all the societal pressures, all of, like, what you're taught, and I feel like that, like, warps your mindset. And it's a lot of unlearning, I feel like our generation is doing, that, like, our parents and grandparents thought was right. And I think it helps to have, like, as much as I hate social media, it does help to have like knowing that other people out there are experiencing similar things or also working through things, or like just seeing that there's someone else out there who may like think or express similarly to you and know that you're not alone. I did want to go back to what you're talking about, how being an entrepreneur, you have to have multiple like streams of income. Just because this has been one of the biggest lessons I've learned in the last like 2 years, working at a place where I was working like 8-hour weeks, giving it my all and putting so much into it. And it was like I was putting all my eggs in one basket and expecting that to bring me joy in all areas of my life, when it's like that can satisfy one area of my life, but I have to pursue other things in order to find happiness. Not necessarily like monetarily driven, like we're not making money from this. This is just a for fun thing that I think allows us to like have conversations with people that we wouldn't have elsewise, or like talk to each other that we wouldn't normally. So I think it's like being able to have that time to pursue other passions. Do you feel like you still have time to pursue things that maybe aren't like business driven?
Yeah, all the time. I try to do as much non-creative, like creative work stuff as possible. Like cut and sew, like sewing and fashion is like a passion of mine. I'm not trying to make money off of it, but I have been like, one thing I've been doing is when I just got a home office, but portion of my room is a workbench where it has like my sewing machine, some scissors, everything. So like I've just been like deconstructing and like playing around with different stuff, and I just wear it. And if it does become something, it does. If not, but like I've always wanted to be in clothes, so like I dabble in that. And I think one thing that's cool is like I have so many other creative. Me losing a lot of friends, I gained a lot of creative friends and like this new village of what it looks like, so I don't feel like I'm going crazy or I'm the one just talking to myself when I'm around other people that don't really get it. So like I get to work with people in fashion and doing stuff like that, and just what I do is I just try to do the things that I've always wanted to do or attempt to do. Also too, I just do normal, like I even say normal things, like just got an Xbox. So I'll like give myself an hour or 2 hours of like Xbox time, you know, just some mindless stuff to do, because we need that. Like I like reality shows. I don't like the ones you probably think I'm gonna say, but like I love Survivor and Amazing Race. So like I'll watch those. Does nothing for me, but like just give me that time and break. So you just mental checks, and I told myself to just do the things that I've always wanted to do. It doesn't have to necessarily be monetized. I have enough things now that I can monetize between like my photography, consulting, and event curating. So it's like, that's good. Now let's do some stuff that I'd love to do, which is like fashion.
What's something else you want to do that you haven't done yet?
I'm trying to travel once a month.
Okay, like out of state?
Out of the state, out of the country. My uncle lives in Germany. He's a dual citizen. He's a chef out there. He's actually overseeing a restaurant in the Swiss Alps right now. So, yeah. So, planning to go see him. I'm really just trying to travel. I grew up, we didn't travel a lot. So, I never like felt the need to travel, but I'm realizing that if I want to get a better worldview and just understanding, I got to expose myself to different cultures outside of sunny San Diego.
Yeah. So. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, where are some of the places that you want to go?
I want to actually really frequent a lot of the African countries. Just completely transparent. Like the Western European side doesn't really care for us too much. I definitely want to go to England because of the music scene. It's just crazy out there. But I've been really into Amapiano and Afrobeat. So like, I really just want to take a tour of Africa. I was able to meet one of my clients. He's Nigerian, and his dad he's like royalty out there. And he comes out to the States all the time, and I was able just to sit there and have a conversation with him, and it was just so like fulfilling. And like it was like this it was like a connection I never felt with somebody, but it was like I realized it's like I need to go back to the place where I've never been, that we are from. So Egypt, Morocco, South Africa. My dad was able to do some research that we have some ties to the Maasai tribe in Kenya. So really want to frequent that. England for the music scene. That's about it so far. But
It's a pretty good list, I'd say.
yeah, I go to New York next month, which is my first time in New York, so I'm super excited.
that'll be cool.
Sorry. So that's super exciting. And then I've been to Chicago a few times, and I love that city. I don't know if I'll move there because it's too damn cold, but
Yeah.
because the first time I went was in the winter, and I was like,
no.
yeah, it's just fun to be in here for a couple days, but not like 4 months out of the year. So, but I just went for the summer, and it's so pretty out there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Ellie and I have both lived in different countries for extended periods of time, and I feel like we talk about it a lot of like that itch to travel one, but also just like shifting your perspective on things when you go to a new place. You like, it brings you out of like all of the comfort that you have, and also like all of the negative thoughts I think that you have about your life. Like when you shift your perspective, you're able to be like, wow, like I have it pretty good, and like this is what I can bring back. And I think traveling is so important.
yeah, it's cool. My friend Erwin, he runs Futures Color, which is a clothing brand. Amazing clothing brand, but he does a lot of traveling. When I talk to him, he has such a world view and just like understanding of so much, and it's like, yeah, I need to experience that. So
Yeah. You said you like to work with kids. Ellie works with kids, like
I
as
do.
her full-time job. And I don't want to speak for you, but maybe like the good, the bad, the ugly of
The
working
ugly?
with kids, and like
Well, what's your experience with working like with kids?
I worked with kids for over 10 years. I was an after-school professional, so I ran multiple after-school programs. Before I went corporate, I was the operations director for a nonprofit called Pro Kids First Tee. It's a nonprofit golf program that focused on inner-city kids and teaching them the game of golf. But like the game of golf, there's so much you can learn, and it's dope to see that more than just the white spaces like operating the golf space, because business deals are closed. There's just a lot you can learn about a person. So yeah, so I've done it all. Camp director, from camp staff to director to coordinator, and then we just launched. We're going to be launching our nonprofit on the 30th of September. It's focusing on college-age youth to provide creative paid internships
Awesome.
in the space. So yeah, there's a lot I can say. The 5-year-olds are fun. Middle school kids are assholes. High school kids think they know everything. Elementary school, they're just like a ball of clay trying to figure life out. So,
Yeah.
my favorite age to work at is probably middle school, high school. Probably more high school because I can talk shit to them. But just teach them life.
Yeah.
There's a lot of my kids now that are now in their 20s that I still take, like they're my little mentees. And it's always cool because the ones that I keep in contact, when they turn 18, we have a different conversation. So it's like we sit down, which I actually have to talk to one of them because he's about to go off to college. So I always do like the pre-college speech. Like,
What does that include?
if you're going to do drugs, do your research. I'll be a hypocrite and tell you not to do them because you probably will. So if you're really intrigued about something, do the research. Understand what the ramifications of what it could be if you're going to open yourself up to this. And use condoms. Don't have any kids unless you want that. If you don't want to finish school, that's okay. Just as long as you're, working towards your passion, whatever that be. So if it's not school, it's fine. But as long as you're just pushing towards whatever you're passionate about, or at that time, do it. So.
Did you go to college? I don't remember.
Did it.
Okay.
I did a year and a half of JC, and my favorite class was biology of drugs and alcohol. It was the coolest class. Like the teacher would be like, "Oh, we're learning about cocaine. Who's got stories?" all right, I got a story. My coach used to make me sniff it before our wrestling matches. Like, that was the wildest shit.
What?
Oh my god,
Yeah.
you were crazy.
Yeah. And he's like, I was like, mind you, he's like in his like 50s. But I'm like, damn, you guys used to do this. He's like, yeah, we'd be in college. Like, coach give us all a bump and we win our matches. And I'm like,
wild.
that's crazy. That's illegal.
That's illegal.
Like,
No kidding.
but yeah, didn't go to college.
Well, I regret most of my college, but that's okay.
I think it's just like validating that I feel like a lot of like really successful people haven't been to college. And I think it's because they take the time to pursue their passions, where I feel like what college does is teach you a lot of like discipline maybe, and like you learn how to study.
No, I was
But-
just being a little ass. I learned a lot. I also think like, and that's what I try to like tell kids. I work with elementary school, so I don't really have this conversation, but when I did work with high schoolers, like I really tried to be the person to say like there are other options. Like you do not need to follow this path that was built out for you, because sometimes like I went to a private school, I did the whole sport, like I did it and I still ended, you know what like I ended in a good spot and all of that, but I think I didn't know really, or I didn't take the time to know, and my parents didn't take the time to know, and I just want to be able to provide that to other people, because it's not like the only path that you can take to like
Yeah.
gain success or whatever it is you're trying to growth, get ready for adulthood, I guess.
Yeah, I will say this. I mean, now it's much easier, but in my early 20s, it was a lot. I had to prove myself.
Oh yeah.
It was a lot of proving, especially because people would come off, I have a 4-year college degree, but I think for me, as soon as I turned 18, I worked full time. So like I always just had experience. I think 1 year I had 14 W-2s.
Oh gosh.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
The taxes that day. TurboTax.
TurboTax.
My sister was pissed. She's like, please stick with the job for at least a year. Like, don't do this again. But I always worked 2 jobs, like all the way up until I stopped working at corporate. I would work 2 jobs and then work my creative passion. So I was always like,
Do you feel like you missed out on things?
I think I've missed out on a lot of things, like friend things and events and parties and stuff like that. I know I missed out on a lot of that. At the time, now I'm realizing I'm missing some of like more of like my nieces and nephews now, because they're not older, like playing football and soccer. So like I'm trying to create that balance, but then again too, it's like this is my bread and butter. This is how I make my money. So I have to like, it's that balance, Really, my dog, shout out to Bubba. He's the one that's been teaching me a lot of just like balance, like taking time, taking breaks from work. We have a lot of cuddle time because he's like a giant body pillow. So it's nice.
Yeah, cuddles are important. Is physical touch your love language?
Physical touch, and what's my other one? Not words of affirmation.
Quality time?
Quality time. Quality time.
Yeah. What is yours again?
Probably like the worst one. The gifts one. Probably I'm that bitch that has like, I need gifts. Or some
I
shit.
feel like that's not...
You didn't buy me anything this week.
You don't love me. There's no gift.
You don't
I
love
know
me.
what it is. No, I don't know. Definitely not physical touch though. Physical touch.
As you cross your arms.
Yeah.
Safe space. No. I did want to ask, and I don't know if you'll have an answer, so it's totally fine if you don't. But on this like journey, has there ever been like a moment working with like a group of people that has just been like created such a deep core like memory for you that's like kind of like what fuels you to do it? I know sometimes working with kids or like being involved in something that you're so passionate about, you kind of have those moments where you're like, oh my god, like this is so beautiful. And if you had maybe one like specifically that stands out.
Yeah, just recently, Mixed Company. I might get a little emotional about this, but I was at like a serious crossroads with Soul Sunday, and I was just kind of fed up because it was becoming like, it's gotten so big, and everybody like wasn't really trusting, like everybody wants to hang out with me, but like it was really hard. And then at that time I lost my 2 like best friends that one that was like with me since day one, and then one that he's been my friend since freshman year, but like came on after the fact. So like losing them, and then like just not really, I was like falling out of love with just everything. And then guys process breakups a lot different. So a year later, not even a year, like a year and a half later, all of like, because I was in a relationship for 10 years, so like my whole 20s, it just hit me. So I was in like a really like dark place, and I just like, I was just ready just to like fuck it. And Sasha, good friend of mine, she's like, hey, we want to do this event. And Mixed Company came about, and I found like that passion that I had when I had Soul Sunday, and I was like, oh, it's not that bad. Like, cause I really felt like at one point just on the island, like just there's not much. I was facing like childhood trauma too. So like that's coming to a surface, and some big things on my family side happened, like almost losing my brother. So it was just a lot of stuff that I had compound that just, I couldn't face it. And then money wasn't coming in. So like I was just sitting at home eating ramen, and everybody's like, Soul Sunday's so great. And I'm like, yeah, you guys are all paid. And I'm sitting here just broke as fuck, you know? And like not happy and not enjoying it. And when we started doing Mixed Company and started to work on it, and we were able to activate it in 3 months and make close to, almost double digits in our first event, I was like, oh man, this is like, I had to text him. I was like, you guys saved my life. Like, you guys really, because I was like, fuck it, fuck Soul Sunday, fuck everybody, like just fuck the world, because it was hard. Like you get to a point where you don't trust a lot of people. I had just got let go, and we won't name names, but she like made my life a living hell, and I loved working there. And it was just a really weird, it was like a lot of shit coming at once, and then just like compounding. And then I'm the one, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm the friend that always says I'm okay.
So do you think Sasha knew something was like that you're struggling, or she just reached out and that just like coincidentally?
It was like, it was more of a coincidence. It's more of a coincidence because she had reached out. We took the meeting, and then I met the other two that are part, Enzo and Skylar. Enzo had just moved out here, and he's like, I don't know anybody. So I was like, I got you. Like, start introducing everybody new. And then we just developed this like really dope bond. It just gave me hope because like, losing my two best friends, I was like, so that was the whole thing. Like, I always look at LeBron's team, like they're friends, like Mav Carter, Rich Paul, they all make their own money. They all do a lot of great things. And I like was envisioning that for us. And I was like, this could be the catalyst for all of us to do our own thing. But it didn't. And then I realized my dad said something, you fight harder to keep people in your circle that don't want to be in there. And I had to like let that go, which opened up the space for Sasha and everybody else. So
To wrap up with asking some like fun questions.
yeah.
Wait, but I want to know what Mixed Company is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good question.
So you can YouTube it. All of our DJ sets are on YouTube, but Mixed Company is a focus on world music. And I don't know if you guys know what a boiler room is. So boiler room is where you take the DJ, you put the DJ right in the crowd. So if you can pull up, when you guys have time, pull up the Mixed Company page on YouTube, you'll see like everybody's around the DJ. And it's just this focus on like, we have a lot of EDM. We don't really have much R&B hip hop out here, but there's enough. But we don't have anything focused on amapiano, just everything in between. And that's what this is. And it's always a collection of like 3 to 4 DJs. It's fun because I can't say right now, but we got a big residency out of the city that it's going to be really fun, that we're going to be able to do this every week, a Friday night and Saturday day party.
Nice.
So stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's Mixed Company. It's
awesome.
It's just a night to dance. Like, don't pull up thinking you're gonna get bottle service. It's come pull up to sweat.
Sounds like our place.
Yeah, literally.
So on the 19th, they're on board. We'll be there if you guys want to come up.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's
Be a
so
lot of fun.
fun.
Well, I just wanted to like do, I don't know. I want to know, are you reading anything right now?
I am. What's the book called? How to Love. I'll have to send you a picture. I can't remember at the top of my head. But it's just a book about just like understanding love, relationships, you in that space. After my like long-term relationship, I owe it to myself and her to be a better person. So I wanted to like make sure that I continue to just work on myself and really try to be the best version of myself as possible and be honest with myself when I'm not, because I think we are each other's biggest lies.
Mm-hmm.
So just like navigating that. So
I'm going to need to read that.
I'll send you, I don't know if it's the exact term, but I'll send you the book. I'm like halfway through it. I need to finish it. I'm the king of reading books halfway. So
Halfway mark, I got their gist of it. Put it back on the bookshelf.
Another good one is The Creative Calling. That's a dope book that honestly kind of pushed me into taking the step to go full time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just about an author, about a photographer that was like, degrees, who's becoming a doctor, like all this stuff, and just realized it wasn't feeding him, to your point. And he decided to chase photography, and he's now this like big photographer, stuff like that. But it's a really cool book because it talks about like the battles of him going through like accepting that creative process.
Mm.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And then, since we were kind of talking about music, obviously, what are you listening to right now? Favorite song, favorite album? I know it's kind of hard to pick one, but so you can throw a few in there.
I don't even know the names. I've been listening to a lot of Amapiano. And Amapiano is South African house music. So it's like a mix of house music, but you have rhythmic patterns of like traditional African drums. That's really what I've been listening to. So it's a lot of like, I don't even know the names. I just know the songs. I've just been like, it's very like, you cannot not move. It's like one of those things. Like I remember when I was first playing it, I look at my roommates and
Everybody's.
yeah, she's like, she's in the kitchen, like in the refrigerator like this. And I was like, are you like this? She's like, I just can't stop moving. I'm like, but I'm a big R&B guy, so I've been like trying to just find like the new up and coming R&B artists. This guy Sifo, I think he's European. He's kind of got like you remember Seal, the artist Seal?
That's Erica's.
You talk to me.
Yeah.
It's not the.
Not musically inclined.
You remember Seal, the guys?
Yeah.
He's like a Seal type, but like a little more R&B. It's
Okay.
pretty dope. So that's what I'm listening to right now.
Are you Spotify or Apple Music or something else?
I am all platforms
You pay
But-
for Apple Music and Spotify?
and Tidal. Yeah, I have them all.
Okay.
But I listen to Apple Music more when I have my headphones on because Apple technology, like do you listen to Spotify? Mm-hmm. Now listen to a song on Spotify with your your AirPod Maxes, and then listen to that same song on
Sounds better?
guarantee you. And then listen.
Apple roping you in.
Exactly. It is. Like, I will say that. And then listen to a Drake song compared to any other song in the Apple library.
I got Drake on mine.
Yeah, I got a few vinyls on it too. But I would say a little more Apple Music because it's the sound quality. But when I'm in my car, I play Spotify because it's not as intense.
Okay.
But I'm a bit of a sound nerd, so like, yeah, but both.
Do you like to dance? Are you like a big dancer? Or you like the music more?
I like to dance. Sometimes I need a little liquid courage. But, sometimes I don't. It just really, I'm a mood guy. I'm also, I don't know if you guys are into horoscopes, but whenever I say I'm a Virgo, everybody's like, that makes sense.
I don't know that much.
I thought you knew more than I did.
I do,
Yeah.
but when it comes to like mine or yours, I don't know.
When is your birthday?
September 5th.
So that's right before Libra? right?
No.
I think Leo. I don't know. I just know we're very complex creatures in particular, and we can be quite of a headache. I own it. So
I want to
Oh,
look
yeah.
it up.
And
Virgo?
then I wanted to know what you're watching right now. Any favorite TV shows, favorite movies?
oh, I already finished it, but I'm watching it like a third time. Silo.
I've never even heard of
What?
that.
What is that on?
Apple TV. It's
Oh,
Apple.
duh.
Apple. Duh.
Have we not gotten it?
Yeah. Apple's roping me in, but Silo is it's a sick show. It like Common's in it, Rashida Jones. It's a solid like cast, but just the whole storyline. Essentially, these people live in a silo that's in the underground, and they have to follow all these certain things, but there's these looming questions of like of how we got here, but they work hard to like kill all that information.
Oh, weird.
It's very like, and then you have to be picked to have babies. You have birth control. It's very like perpendicular to what a lot we deal with right now, but it's good.
Is it like a thriller?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But all the episodes are out. They're gonna have a second season. So I finished that. What else have I been watching? I finished all the Survivor seasons, so I'm waiting for season 45 to come out.
Have you applied to be on that show?
No, that was one thing my dad, like, he's like, son, anything you do, like, just don't go on a reality show. And I was like, that's fair. I could, like, but I don't get me wrong, like, every time they cut the commercial, it's like, apply. I'm like, I think about it, but that, and I think that's it.
What do you think would be like your strength in a Survivor situation? Like, what would be your go-to?
I mean, I like to think I'm athletic, you know. So I was an athlete, so I would say strength. I'm pretty good at puzzles too. I'm the type of person, I don't like, if I can't figure it out, I'll figure it out. I don't like not figuring things out. So.
Well, according to your
Oh, here we go.
it says above all else, Virgos want to help. You're kind, gentle, supportive, strive to provide workable solutions and improve broken systems. Methodical, committed, hardworking, excellent teachers, healers, editors, and musicians.
Wow.
I'm not going to read the negative.
No, read the negative. Let's hear it. There's always a good and bad. And I'll tell you if any of those are right.
Shyness? Would you consider yourself shy? I don't think that's bad. It just says weaknesses.
Yeah, because there's been, I feel like I have missed many cues of like, especially just like now dating again, like cues of like, I'm shy. Like people are like, oh, you're so outgoing. I'm like, yeah, but I don't pick up on like those social cues or anything. You know, if somebody's like interested. So yeah, I would definitely say that.
Overly critical of self and others?
Yes. More so myself than others. But I could like, yeah. People are like, why don't you hang out? I'm like, no, it's getting on my nerves. Like,
I really would be saying just like that.
I do. No, I really do.
I can't handle you today. Well, do you have any questions for us?
My question to you, why do you guys don't think you guys are creatives?
Why aren't you creative? I'm just kidding.
I don't think that I'm not. I think that it's like there's tiers in my mind of like creativity. And so I feel like I'm in my crafting era. I was dyeing things with avocado pits. I've been doing like a lot of random. I got a coloring book. Like I feel like there's that type of stuff. And then there's stuff of like you're sewing your own clothes and you're like actually making music. Like I play the piano. I don't write my own music. Like in my mind, there's like levels. So I consider myself maybe in like a middle tier creative, not like a elite.
But I feel like sometimes people that are elite are not that elite. I've met creatives. I lived in LA. I had a studio in LA for a year. And I met a lot of like elite creatives, and like I don't sell yourself short.
I know. Well, I'm just like hearing you say that. I like get frustrated because I'm like, what are you talking about? You're so creative. Like, I'm just thinking more so of like the podcast too. You're very much like when you present with a problem, you'll just like literally Google it or figure it out yourself in order to like you're not putting out like average stuff when you put stuff out, like whether it's like your coloring book or something with the podcast. I feel like you really give 100%. Those are two very different things.
The coloring book is a new thing.
Yeah. Trying to know. I feel like for me though, it's very much like I just feel average. Like I feel like, and I've always felt this way, and like every aspect of my life is like I am this, but I'm also this. So I feel like I can't claim both. Mm-hmm. And so for instance, like as far as like being creative, like I like art, like I like painting, I like drawing, but I'm not what I think is good, I guess. I don't know if I'm being too like critical, or I see like my like sisters who are like out there, like artists like can just like dive in and do like these really deep pieces, and I want to be like that, and sometimes it stops me from even just like doing it because I'm like, well, what's the point if it's not good enough? I feel like I'm in the mindset right now of like, oh, I'm just like having fun, so I'm putting out good stuff. But there's a lot more times where I'm just like, I can't even think about something beautiful, or I'll be like out and be like, this would be such a good, like if I could recreate this with like paints, this would be awesome. And then like the first thought is in my mind is like, you can't even do that, so like why even try? So I feel very much like average, what's the point type feeling.
Well, one, you could be all those things. I'm a curator, I'm a photographer, videographer, I cut and sew, but you have to like own them. And two, like Soul Sunday, I did it for myself. Like the whole reason why I did it was because it was like, there's nowhere to listen to good live music. I know how to make it happen, and I could do it. And I did it for myself, and it just so happened now 600 people like it. But own it. Like you can be all that stuff, and maybe you can't paint, but you can be the one that there's people that just have an eye for it, you know, but that can't paint, or that the person that can paint, but you need to put the right person. So there's like, I understand. I fought with that of like, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. And I remember one of my old coaches had told me, he's like, you're doing too much. And now he's calling me, asking me to book his daughter to go on Soul Sunday. You know, like, so it's, you gotta like own it. We're our own worst critics.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I also think too, like you said, like you do it for you. Like I'm not, if I can just sit and accept that I'm painting for nobody else but myself, like no one else is going to see this sketchbook, no one else is going to see it. I feel like when I have that mindset, or if I start to have that mindset, I might produce something different or the same, and it won't matter because it's just for me. So I like that you said that. Yeah,
but even too, it's like you won't know what you have in common with somebody if you don't put yourself out there.
Ain't that the truth? Out there is a whole other challenge.
Oh yeah, it's hard. Like I deal with it all the time. Like, but it's so freeing. Like we limit ourselves. Like, so each year I don't do like resolutions. I do words. So we're wrapping up pretty much 2024 or 2023. What are your words or potential words for 2024?
I'm gonna have to think about that for a second.
I did a word last year. This year we did like mood boarding. But last year my word was grounded, and I like made a keychain and I like had it like everywhere, and I feel like that was like really good for me. And then this year I was like I've been all over the place. So maybe bring that back. I feel like, I don't know, I've been doing a lot of work on myself for honestly the last like few years, and I feel like I am present in situations for the most part. I feel like I do say yes to a lot of things to like challenge myself and get out there. And not that I'm like perfect at any of these things, but I feel like just being more like proud of myself for doing those things. I think Ellie and I can spiral into being like our own worst critic. When we talk to each other, it's like we try and lift each other up, but it's like, but actually...
The joking becomes very serious very quickly.
So maybe just being more of, I don't want to say proud, that's not like the word, but a word along those lines of like satisfied and like content with the things that I'm doing in my life.
Those are good ones. I think the first one would be present. Spent a lot of time in the past. So that's just kind of like a goal, something I've been like really working on, especially recently, of just accepting what was and appreciating it for what it was and moving on. And then positive, we're doing peas.
Pushing peas.
Positive. I feel like my banter can be like negative. I like joking around, but like you just said, it can spiral very quickly. So I also think too, like it's what's said, like what do I say to myself in the mirror when no one else is around, or like how am I? What do I say to myself when I wake up? And I've been thinking a lot about that more, and I think it's more so of like, oh my gosh, my alarm is going off. Oh, I told myself I was gonna work out. Like it's nothing positive. It's just like, oh, I told myself I was gonna do all these things, and then it just doesn't end well, and it doesn't like make me feel good at the end of the day. So like shifting my perspective to be a little bit more positive.
Perspective.
And number 3, perspective.
All right.
Perspective. Boom, love it. Thank you.
What are yours? What do you think yours will be?
Balance is one. Like really trying to create balance, a work-life balance. Really spend. I think right now, like my nieces and nephews are a really cool age, and like I have an opportunity to step in and be like that uncle, because right now they're not really, like they love their parents, but it's like I'm not fucking with you right now, you know, because they're older. So it's like time for me and my brother to kind of be those like outlets for them. So just creating that balance between work and that. Compassion for myself. That's a big one. Sometimes I'm my worst critic. Like I sometimes get so down on myself, I'll just silo myself from everybody. So it's like having more compassion for myself and just consistency. Like I'm really trying to be more consistent in a lot of the things that I'm doing outside of work. Like work, I'm very consistent, but like the gym, somebody just gave me shit, was like, do you have a skincare routine? I was like, no, I just wash my face in the shower. And they're like, no, you gotta do better. Like build some, like, I was like, okay, that's true. I do need like take care of my skin and stuff like that. So there's like little shit like that.
Those are good ones. You made me think of boundaries too. We've been talking a lot about boundaries. I am very much like a yes person, which can like be very draining, or I get into situations where I'm like, I absolutely don't want to be here right now, but I'm like,
I offer you up to say the power of saying no is probably the most powerful thing that we can do. And I challenge you to, if the opportunity like is awry and it hits all the points of like, I don't really want to do this, like say no and see how it feels. It's a good feeling. Like I'm not gonna lie. I don't know, because I'm just a Virgo, but because I'm very much saying I'll say yes to a lot of stuff. There's a couple of people that have been hitting me about podcasts, and I'm like, one guy's like, all right, where do you want to do it? I was like, bro, this is your shit. Like, I don't know. Like,
We're the best. Did you
yeah.
Nowhere.
well, we're glad you're here.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah,
Cool.
true that.
Well, thanhanks for joining us.
Where can
welcome.
people find you? Plug yourself.
Oh, God. Just follow the Soul Sunday page. Don't follow me personally, but Soul Sunday Mix Company. You can follow Life of Bubbies. That's my dog's page as well. I need some followers. Need to pump out some more content for him. And my personal page is Blizzzy Blake 10. But if you really want to find me, just pull up to one of the events that we have. I think that's the best way.
And you know where to find us. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.